Hello, everyone. This is Henry Schneider with the Business Performance Podcast, and today it's my pleasure to be speaking with Lauren Bailey of Factor 8 and the Girls Club. So, welcome, Lauren.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Okay, so for our viewers, would you please describe what Factor 8 is, who your customers are, and what services you deliver?
Oh, pleasure. Factor 8 is an inside sales training company. We work with frontline reps and managers to teach the strategies and tactics of how to do their job better, faster.
So, what's the importance of quality to you and your team when you do this delivery of the services?
Oh, I mean, it's everything, right? It was Henry Ford, quality is job one. Mm-hmm. There's two components to that, right? There's the quality of the sales call and the leader, right? The end work that we're working on, and there's the quality of how our goals and how we get there. But it's sort of that lack of quality that we see so often in the inside sales rep and manager. That is the passion. Like it's all about fixing that for me. There's a stat recently that said that less than 15% of customers trust their salesperson. Mm-hmm. And I think that is not unrelated to the fact that our sellers are getting younger and younger and younger and less experienced, but we don't always invest in teaching them how to do it right. Mm-hmm. So my personal mission is about helping more people feel successful at work, right? Because that changes everything. Yeah. That changes life, right? And it's focused on the quality of helping these folks figure out their jobs faster and doing a better job so that they feel more content when they go home. Their customer trusts them more and everybody makes more money.
Okay. So when you're talking with inside sales, how do you get people over the hump for cold calling? Because that is so awkward to try to do that and build that rapport before somebody slams the phone down.
It's so true, Henry. And listen, a lot of people talk about that they don't want to or shouldn't have to do cold calls. And there's a lot of things that make calls warmer these days, from the front end marketing engines that we've put behind lead generation, nurture programs, research and data that's available to us. But no matter what, at some point, you got to get off the keyboard and on the phone, because you will not actually close deals with new customers over email or social media, right? It's the phone, it still rules that channel. So how do you get people over that fear? Well, you got to build confidence on the phones. And there's lots of little techniques and tricks that we use at Factor 8. One of my very favorites is where we'll teach sellers to actually not call the decision maker right away, but to call somebody in a different department that'll answer their phone: sales, service, accounts receivable, accounting, right? Mm-hmm. And quiz them for information. We qualify the company, we capture new contacts from those people. It's sort of like a James Bond mission. Mm-hmm. Like you get in and do reconnaissance work, right? And it's scary because these people don't hear from you either, but it's safer because this isn't your ultimate decision maker. And what we do at Factor 8 is we'll teach it, we'll practice it, then we go get on the phones and we do it. So, the first time they'll pick up the phone, they'll get one answer and they'll hang up. But by the time we're done practicing, they're getting 5 or 6 pieces of information and contacts out of these folks. And that builds confidence. So doing it in a safe place, taking smaller risks before bigger risks, and having an advisor right there to help coach and encourage, and running contests and having fun with it. We will actually award somebody during that a gift card if they get hung up on.
Oh.
Right? But because we want you to find your edge, right? And if you haven't gotten all the way to the edge of somebody hanging up on you, you could probably come in a little bit between where you are now and there, right? Like, there's a little bit more room to push. And again, that's encouraging the small risk taking to build confidence.
What are 1 or 2 of the biggest myths or misconceptions out there when it comes to performance as a salesperson?
I think one of the first myths is that you can hire talent, right? It's a lot easier for a company to say, look, I don't have the time, money, bandwidth to figure out how to onboard these people. So I'm just going to go buy talent that has been doing this for a few years. Well, especially with today's modern selling, right? Reps are burning out faster and faster and faster. which means if you're buying somebody, if you're recruiting somebody who's got 5 years of experience doing outbound calling, what you're looking for is a unicorn, because the average lifespan is 16 to 18 months tops.
Yeah.
So the experience doesn't exist. Let's say you go hire somebody who's got 10 years of a track record carrying a bag and doing complex sales. You put them on the phones, 9 out of 10 times they fail. It's a different job. So even when you bring somebody in who's got experience doing the role that you're hiring them to do, they still need the ramp time to get used to your customers and your industry and your process and your products. And they still need that ongoing development. You can't get out a training and coaching and developing these people, especially with millennials. Because I'll tell you what, Henry, now the number one thing millennials are looking for when they're searching for jobs, career development and growth opportunities. They want the training, they want the career path, they want the mentoring.
And then they're gone. Right. And on to the next thing.
Yeah, or they don't come in at all, right? Millennials will actually be immensely loyal if you can align them with your vision, a leader who believes in them, and develop them, care about their growth.
Okay. All right. So how do you get over those fears of people, the challenges? What do you do to bridge that gap so you can smooth things out?
Ooh, yeah. Well, baby wins is what I like to talk about, right? We got to celebrate small wins with people. We were joking about millennials, probably because you and I are past that age.
That's right.
Sorry for assuming, but you're right. Let's just be honest. Neither one of us are brand new in our careers. And people talk about how millennials want to be promoted like within their first week on the job, and they need a celebration, they need a trophy for participating. And I love all of that. And that's how sales should be. So one of the things you do to build that confidence and get over the fear is take the baby steps and celebrate the baby wins. So let's say you've got a team that's in charge of the younger sellers are booking meetings, right? They're trying to get meetings for your more mature audience or for yourself if you're the CEO and you've hired a sales development team. Well, you can't just celebrate the appointment. You got to celebrate the stuff that drives to the appointment, because that builds the confidence. If you just celebrate the appointment, it's sort of like putting a rep, use football. You're standing in your own end zone and you're just asking them to throw Hail Marys all day long. And when one connects and runs into the opposite end zone, which is 1 out of 100, woohoo, isn't that great? Well, the way American football really works, right, is you got to have first downs. By the way, somewhere in the middle of this, I'll start using basketball or baseball. This is sports analogies. But like, that's why we have a first down, right? So the first down is you got to celebrate that somebody actually freaking called them back, because that doesn't happen much anymore. And it takes skill to get someone to do it. You got to celebrate that they had a conversation. You got to celebrate they got any interest at all. You got to celebrate they booked a follow-up meeting, because that's hard to get. Then you got to celebrate that they showed up, right? And that they eventually closed. So if you want to build the confidence and get past the fear, you make a safe place for them to do it. You build in small goals where we win along the way, and then you celebrate those goals.
Yeah, and as long as you are consistent in celebrating those goals consistently, then that helps.
Yeah.
If it's an inconsistent application, then you get the opposite behavior.
And it's hard when, listen, I'm a CEO, right? I've got 2 small companies. I don't have the time and bandwidth to put in a perfect process that builds this and celebrates it all the time. It's tough to do. So the folks in the larger companies, that's your ultimate goal. For the rest of us in the middle trying to get there, I just look for regular touch points where we can look at the results and we're talking regularly, because the access to you as the president, right, as the leader, is a reward for people young in their career. And giving the verbal attaboys and finding new ways every week to do that, sometimes that's the best I can do, but I'm still trying to make a safe place and celebrate small wins.
Okay, so let's talk about for your company in Factor 8. What are some of the challenges you face as a company?
As a company, yeah. I think the toughest thing for us is convincing leaders, sales leaders, and others that they need to invest in their people. Majority of companies don't have a line item budget for their people. In fact, as an industry, we spend 10x on tools than we do on training. Yeah, so we're happy to do a new tool, to help make you more efficient, but not something to make you more effective, right? We're spending on quantity, but not on quality.
Yeah.
And that's my soapbox, man. That's it.
Yeah,
I don't care if you don't spend it with us. Just develop your people. Then you won't have to spend 35 recruiting new ones.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, you can become really efficient at being bad.
Right? And then it's like, well, why would I train these people? Because they're leaving. It's like, but that's why they're leaving. Right? So I think everyone's seen that old quote where it's like, what happens if I train them and they leave? But the flip side of that is, what happens if I don't train them and they stay?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had a client several years ago. It was an eye doctor, and they were complaining because they were kind of far out from where all the population was. And they were like a training academy for eye doctors, because they'd come in, they'd get people, they'd train them. As soon as they were trained, they'd leave and have to bring new people in constantly. They were getting very frustrated over that.
Yeah, it's true, right? I used to have that when I was running a training department in corporate America, because I would pull them out of sales. I would teach them how to be great trainers and leaders, and then sales would pull them back out to run a sales team. And that can be frustrating, but it's also a mark of the fact that you're doing it very well. And once you know that that's the case, then that becomes a recruiting opportunity. You want people to come and work for you? Listen, I'm going to train you. You're going to be recruited at the end. All I ask for is give me 2 years, or, whatever that case may be. If you're great at developing people, other companies will absolutely find out and try to use you as a feeder. So it's on us as leaders to keep our people. I just lost my VP of sales. He's been with me for 5 years. He's a dear friend. He used to be a trainer for Factor 8. Just one of my favorite people in the world, right? But it started to get stale for him. Our business was changing. We developed new products. We launched another company. He missed developing people. He missed being the manager that trains us people. So we had a really great heart-to-heart about it. And I said, I can tell something's going on. And he was like, well, yeah, here's kind of what I'm thinking. And my people are getting calls to get recruited all the time, right? I'm a feeder organization because we develop them. But he was actually taking it seriously. So I was like, pass him to me. I'm going to give you the best damn reference you've ever gotten. I think that as leaders, you've got to, it's my job to keep him. I failed, right? I'm not mad at him for wanting to leave. I'm happy for him. I think you got to clap him out the door. And by the way, sometimes they come back when you do that.
That was that post you had out on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how that took. It's like crazy numbers of comments and views, and like, wow, that was a shock to me. But yeah, it taught me how many people were waiting to hear that, really.
That's a great message.
Yeah, tons of comments were like, oh yeah, this happened to me and I lied to. And
yeah, I mean that happens quite a bit. Is that it's the communication and it's the relationships, and that's basically all a business is about, is relationships with people.
Yeah, and it's so important, especially in smaller companies, right? Like when we hire anybody new, no matter what their role is, everybody on the team has a chance to interview them, and our final deciding factor is, would we go on vacation with this person?
Oh,
like we gotta like them. You spend more time with your work family than you do your own family sometimes. Although we try not to make that the case here. Like you gotta like who you work with. You gotta fit.
Yeah. Well, years ago, I went through an interview process for a small consulting company, and basically I interviewed almost with every single person on staff, and then I had to give a presentation at the end, and it was a wonderful vetting process. I got the job, but like everybody was compatible, and I'm not real certain how they made that happen, but there wasn't anybody you wouldn't want to work with at all.
And it's the key on putting together values. I didn't do it right away when I started Factor 8, right? Because I was a busy entrepreneur. We didn't publish our values. Whereas I used to do it with every team I led in corporate America. And I did it right away with Girls Club because I learned that lesson. When you publish your values, it helps attract the right people to you. And it's an amazing difference. And when you publish them and you think about it, you spend the time developing them, it gets everybody focused in the right areas, right? We're all singing from the same hymn book, however you want to say it. But then it's really easy to find out who's a fit and who needs to bounce out.
Okay, so you've mentioned Girls Club a couple of times. So why don't you tell the viewers what that is?
Yeah, that's my new passion project. I started Girls Club in 2018. And the mission is to help more women earn leadership positions in the sales industry. So sales and sales adjacent, enablement, operations, marketing, etc. It's very, very common for women sales reps to be in the minority. And it's 100% common for women in leadership to be in the minority. In fact, sales, venture capital, and long haul trucking.
Oh,
3 industries with the least amount of women in leadership.
wow. Well, I can understand long haul trucking. I mean, that's not for everybody at all.
No, exactly.
But I'm kind of surprised about venture capital because, I've been around some of those people. There's quite a few women in there, but I guess maybe not in comparison to others.
Yeah, what's interesting is that there's lots of studies I've found in the last year since starting this that people are, I love that they send them to me, that in both venture capital and in sales, even though women are in the minority, they make up the majority of the top performers.
Ah,
So it's something where they excel. But Henry, the long and the short of it is there's a confidence gap for women. HP did a study about this called The Confidence Gap. Forbes published it a few years back. And it says that men will apply for a new position, an opportunity, a promotion, an assignment, if they feel 60% ready. There's 10 things, I got 6 of them, lucky to have me, right? You want to guess what the number is for women?
Probably 90%, right?
It's 100. It's even worse than that. Yeah. So we're less willing as a gender to take risks. Yeah. We're raised a little bit more to be perfectionists. And perfectionism is the antithesis to risk taking, right? If I have to be perfect, I'm not going to try something if I think I may fail. Well, sales, entrepreneurship, rife with potential for failure.
That's right?
So that makes it hard. Not to mention, if a woman has gone into sales, even if she's really successful, it happens all over again. I want to get into management and leadership, but I'm not 100% ready. I'm going to wait. So Girl Up is about fixing that. We've got a community of women that are all about helping each other. And we build the network across companies because you may not see anybody that looks like you in your current company. And then we have a training program at the heart of it that helps produce high-performing managers in 6 months. So they get mentors, they get training, they get support, they get a network. It's everything that I wish I had when I was in my 20s doing this. We built it with Girls Club.
Well, that's pretty good. So I guess you're kind of mentoring and encouraging them to be risk takers then too, so that you get outside that comfort zone.
Yes, we've created a safe space to encourage risk taking, but we also actively battle the perfectionism. One fun way we do that is we get women I admire, people who act as mentors and thought leaders in the program, to do interviews and confessionals. And they sit down in front of a webcam, sometimes in their curlers, sometimes in a bathroom, and so it just strips away. You don't have to be perfect. And then they talk about a failure, a mistake, a risk, a fear, all the stuff that we think we're not supposed to have, that our perfect role models on TV don't seem to have with their hair and makeup and wardrobe budgets. Right? And we share that with each other, and that helps get past the fear, just like sales, right? You call out a couple times, you really mess it up, then fantastic, great job. Let's try again.
Well, let's talk about what are some of the pitfalls or mistakes that we need to avoid when you start talking about sales.
I got to tell you, I think that mistake is a good thing, especially in sales. Willing to get out there and screw up, you're probably not finding your path, right? The companies and the rep perform the worst are the ones that I find are very 100% process script driven. Like, I'm just hiring robots, and they're missing the opportunity to really engage their customers. So I guess that is a pitfall. One pitfall is doing everything you can to avoid mistakes. Some of my favorite call recordings, I listen to thousands of calls every year, and some of my favorites are when a rep gets on and stumbles, like they totally screw up the script, right? And they're like, listen, I'm sorry, that was awful, can I do that again? And now all of a sudden you're talking to a human and the conversation's great. But when I'm over here behind my mask delivering my robotic script, and you're over here behind your wall of I don't want to talk to you when I answer the phone by mistake, we're not going to get anywhere. Right? So to answer your question in a much better format, the number one pitfall is a failure to just be genuine and to be yourself. Let your freak flag fly.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like when you have a call, go to the call center and you call up and you've got a problem and you get someone, you say the problem, they turn and say, oh, I understand this is your problem. They repeat exactly what you say. And I said, if I knew, let me talk to your supervisor, somebody I can converse with.
Yeah. Sadly, that's usually offshore, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny, I lived overseas for a year in Manila working in call centers trying to train these young people how to sell, which was probably one of the hardest things I've taken on in my life. But here's how that happens. Somebody has given the process that says, paraphrase or repeat the problem so they know that you've heard them. Mm-hmm. And so they literally repeat what you said word for word, right? That is a perfect example of process feeling to help us be human.
Yeah, and it's even now when you have online chats, and I say, I just told you that. I want
it's a chatbot. Yeah, that's because it's a chatbot. Yeah. Right? Yeah, we're running out of people who want to get into sales because we are burning out the people who are coming into sales. And so we're trying to automate it. And I, as a consumer, hate it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's getting very sophisticated too. Like, Google has that Google Assistant where you think you're actually talking to a person and it's a computer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is getting better. It is. My house loves Alexa. She's turning on right now in my office. She's going to start playing music or showing my shopping list or something, right? So those ways I love it. I'm not a tech hater when it comes to that, but I am a little resistant of a tech hater in sales because I think we're masking our humans.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's it. You need that. You need that to stumble where you can just let it go and say, okay, I screwed up. Let me just try over. And then you can actually have a conversation with somebody and you build that rapport.
Yeah.
That rapport, you're not going to connect with anybody.
You're not getting anywhere. So, Henry, I call that the difference between confidence and bravery, right? When we give a rep a mask to wear, which is a script and a process they hide behind, right? Then bravery helps. Like if you're scared to death to pick up the phones and you've got yourself a mask and a script, you feel a little, it's like putting on a superhero suit. Like, I got this, I got my cape, I can do this, right? The problem is bravery burns out. Mm-hmm. If you have to suit up every day to come to work, you're not going to last very long. And that's exactly what the trends are showing us.
Yeah. And it's like you were doing podcasts all day long. After the second or third hour, you'd be so wiped out and tired of doing this.
You wouldn't be having a conversation anymore. You're just thinking about what you're supposed to say next.
Yeah. You would just be going through the motions and all. So.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about your backstory now, Lauren.
Dun, dun, dun.
So what defining moments occurred in your career that led you to be the CEO of Factor 8?
This is really vivid for me. I was 23 years old and got my first sales management job, which tells you that I was overemployed, right? Like way out over my skis. I had a team of 12 reps. We were calling into the Fortune 500. Most of them were new, and I was new to the company, to the industry, to management, to everything. Now, I love Steve Caldwell for giving me that opportunity, right? He saw great potential in me. Let me tell you, that day I put on my big girl pants and said, no, I'm not going to take your job in sales. I want the management role. And I got it, right? And bless the bravery that happened there. But the next 6 months were the hardest of my life. I did not know what I was doing. And remembering that feeling of working for 18 hours, driving home in a fog, crying in my car, drinking way too much wine. Like, it's so fresh for me. I still remember it, right? I had 3 big issues. Number one, I did not know what the hell I was doing. I had no training available to me from the company to help me learn what my job was, what the industry was, et cetera. Number 2, my reps didn't know what they were doing. They came out of new hire training, knowing everything about the company and product, but having no clue how to sell it over the phone. Number 3, I was the only woman there. And, there's a lot of hazing and fun that happens in inside sales centers. And I talk like a trucker today. It was like I was raised by a pack of wolves with all the guys in the call centers. It's who I am today. It's worked out just fine, but it was rough. I felt like I was on an island. And so here you go. Factor 8, we do tactical frontline sales management training. It's not theory BS. It's not how to do, difference of leadership and management and how to not sexually harass somebody. It's what meetings do you have to have? What do you have to cover? How do you run a sales pipeline meeting? How do you coach a call? It's literally job training. Number 2, we teach reps how to sell stuff over the phone. And then number 3 is Girls Club. We create a community for those women who are on islands and help them, right, progressing in their career. So that year at 23 was so rough. I've literally created 3 brands, right, to help solve for that.
So kind of building on that, is there any other experiences that you had over your life that influenced the way you approach business today?
That's a toughie. Yeah. Yeah. I think that when you have tough experiences and those are challenges, obviously they stick with you, right? We remember how we feel, not necessarily what somebody said or did. And that's influenced me to start the brands, but it's also influenced me to try to do it better, if that makes sense. I never would have started Factor 8 if I didn't freaking hate my boss at my last corporate gig. What a jerk. I used to put his picture up when I did leadership training. Don't be this guy, right? But it's influenced me, right? How you're treated on the job makes a really big difference. I think the other thing I'll say on a positive note was watching some of the women that I've admired. I was speaking at a conference 6 years ago, and the amazing Lori Richardson saw me on the escalators and says, "We've got to talk." She and Jill Conrath has started a group called Women Sales Pros, and it's a group of female entrepreneurs. And they asked me to join. And Henry, the first year that I went, I felt like such an imposter, right? I was like, I'm just this little girl with this little baby business. And here's these women that I've seen on stages and on book covers, and right, they're so impressive. And every one of them was there to help everybody else, even though some of them were technically competitors. Yeah. My confidence grew, my business grew, and my belief in humanity grew because it wasn't a competition anymore, right? Yeah. Women are like that. I'm sorry to say. I'm glad it's changing. But as I've come up, like I was either the only one or there were 2 of us and one of us wasn't going to make it. Like it was a cat fight. Yeah. Like we have just been taught to compete. There aren't enough opportunities for women. And so it's not like we're going to create our own opportunity or take them from the men. We're going to hunt each other down and make sure we're the last female standing. And that changed for me when I found Women Sales Pros. And I think that inspired me, right, to help build that community for the level that I lived at before in sales leadership with Girls Club.
Okay, cool. So you were telling me you just launched a new product over the last 12 months. So could you tell everybody what that was and how successful it's been?
My baby. So it's called the Sales Bar. And the Sales Bar is where we put all of our IP and we make it available to companies or individuals of any size. So there's the frontline rep training, there's frontline manager training, there's leadership development. You're a popular guy. Yeah. It's right. The rep, the manager, the leadership curriculum, it's all available in a low cost subscription model. And it helps do a couple things, Henry. We created it because number one, at Factor 8, we could really only work with like a mid-market enterprise level client. If you were Fortune 500, I couldn't scale big enough. I lost the Microsoft gig, right? Thank you for loving what we do, but I couldn't scale. And if you were too small, we were doing this custom on-site work and it wasn't, you'd wind up paying thousands per person. That was nuts. So by putting it online, we could scale our company. Mm-hmm. But what's better is, we were talking about how people don't invest in developing their people, but they do invest in tools. Mm-hmm. So I got a back door here now. Yeah. I've got a subscription tool that you can sneak into your tools budget that makes development available for your people. So that was the why we did it. What I'm particularly proud about was that I think that, to your question before, quality is key. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of the why people don't invest and they don't think it works. And that's a bummer, right? There's a lot of stuff that doesn't work. Yeah. So when we thought about doing this, I had a very, very clear vision of what I wanted it to be and look and feel like and what I didn't. It couldn't be a snooze fest. It had to be interactive. It had to be short. It had to be fun. It had to be funny. It had to be like, I can print this out and post it, not click, 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 snooze. And so we built something that's really fun and robust, and we fill it with stupid bar puns, right? We've got happy hours, and we've got course chasers, and we've got stuff on tap, and we have a really good time with it, and I'm just immensely proud.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that because I've seen all kinds of e-learning. Most of it's bad.
Yeah.
It's like you just click, 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 answer a question, and then you keep answering the question so you get it right, and you move on. You don't learn anything.
No, and that's and by the way, there's tons of bad training in the classroom too. Like when we all went to college, that's bad training, folks. That's a lecture, and there is no way that any of it gets retained. Yet there are so many ways to do it better, and you have to, especially for salespeople, right? You've got to get people interacting. You've got to get them applying it and practicing it and using it. Like what I told you in Factor 8, we do live calls during training. Well, that's hard to do online, but you know what we did instead? We put in a call library. So real calls from reps at other companies, and we edit it so you know protect the innocent. But you can actually hear the skill, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then you hear somebody coach it. Like, what did you think of this? And what did you think of that? So it's as close as we can get to really getting hands-on. Yeah, it's got, we've done stuff we've seen nobody else do before.
Yeah, that's good because you can say, don't do it this way at all.
It helps.
Here's the poster child. This is what you should aspire to, but you don't need to get there. You need to be somewhere in between.
Exactly. And I think that when you hear, gosh, just like we talked about in building confidence, when you hear people getting it done and they're not perfect and they're not robots and they're not glossy supermodels, and that's okay, it helps build your own confidence.
So do you have video? I mean, how else do you get people engaged? Because they're talking to a computer. So.
Right. Oh, there's tons of fun ways. Okay. So yes, we've got some videos and we keep those short. Then we actually, for the e-learning, we built it interactive. Right? So for instance, you may read something on a screen, but then on the next screen, you've got to drag it and drop it and sort it. Or you've got to climb this virtual mountain to earn badges. You got to answer questions about it. Like, you can't let it run in the background. It's going to stop every screen and get you to interact with it. And yes, there's the quiz at the end, but those are so easy. That doesn't really matter.
So it's more like game theory then, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's totally gamified. And gamification, micro-learning, that's the industry terms. But in addition to that, then we'll have a cheat sheet that has the salient points and an activity about how to go and grab this from here on the job. Like, go research this and add it to your cheat sheet. We've got script starters. So we teach people how to get triple the voicemails returned. People leave horrible voicemails, but you can triple, if not quadruple or quintuple, the number that get returned with the right skills. So here are starters. Literally, here are ones that you can steal. Fill in the blanks, put your own words on it, right? Because we don't want to give people script masks. But that's so helpful. Then there'll be an activity that they're supposed to do with their manager. Maybe they need to record a call and send it in for grading, right? Then they can listen to the calls. Then they can listen to somebody else being coached on the calls. So there's like 10 different formats for reps, but then you do the same for their managers. So for every rep class, there's a manager engagement toolkit. Here's a call grading form. Here's a coaching cheat sheet. Here's an activity, a contest, something to do in the huddle. Here's your own video on how to do it better. Here's remedial stuff you can send to reps who are struggling. So we take every skill and surround it with all kinds of different assets or types of learning that are out there. They're supposed to be fun.
So let me ask you this, Tom. It took you like 12 months to launch this. So did you have all that stuff at the beginning, or is that things you learned as you started building it up that you needed to add in?
Right. So the curriculum itself is from Factor 8, and we've been doing it for 11 years, right? This is curriculum that we wrote over the years, right? It's got a little bit of everything, but the methodology is all phone or digital based, right? So the curriculum was there, but now we had to translate it. We had to build the e-learning. We had cheat sheets from class, but they were mostly fill in the blank because it was interactive. So we had to fill that in. It's a never-ending process. My development team is still working. I think we've got, as of today, and obviously, this changes every single month, but I think we have 15 rep classes and 8 manager classes done. And then we add content from the past classes and new classes every single month. So there's always something new there. But to answer your question, did I know how to do it? I had some ideas of what I wanted it to look like, because we've all had crappy training. So I knew what I didn't want it to be, and then just unleash the creativity of my team. Like, guys, this is how we do it in class. What would it look like? And I loved the ideas that they came back with to make it more fun and create assets we haven't seen anywhere else.
Well, that's cool. I mean, that's really exciting to hear all stuff like that.
I'm so proud of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, because, I've been exposed to all kinds of different types of e-learning, and yours sounds like it'd be pretty.
Come check it out and tell me what you think.
Okay, definitely. So let me ask you this. When people come to Factor 8 for your services, what's the most important question they should be asking themselves?
What are the results that I want to see as a result of the training?
Mm-hmm.
So what we'll try to do is partner. We're all former sales leaders, right? This isn't training theory, right? So we start with the goals in the results. Oh, okay, well, I'm looking for a higher quantity of leads passed. I'm looking for higher quality conversations. I need to work on my close rate. I need to penetrate more accounts. It's speed to market. We all have different goals,
Mm-hmm.
right? And each one of those is going to shape the what we train, the who we train, and the how we train it. If you're coming to just check the box because you need to provide sales training, then go to a seminar or somebody does kickoffs or something. You know what I mean? That's not us. We're going to be more expensive because it's going to be customized to help you actually achieve those sales goals.
Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to be evaluating against the competition because there's a lot of competition out there for
There
training.
sure is. Yeah, the market's getting more and more crowded.
So what distinguishes you from the rest of the crowd?
I was talking to a woman yesterday who has used us very recently and my two biggest competitors before that. And it was perfect timing. She's a mentor for me in Girls Club. That's how she learned about Factor 8 and tried us out with one of her teams. And so I was dying to talk to her, right? I'm like, Jess, okay, give me the straight scoop. And if it wasn't perfect, this is where, like, I want to hear it, right? Be honest with me. We're always transparent in Girls Club. And she told me about the great results and what she loved. And I said, now, how are we different from this guy and this guy, right? And here was her answer. Look at this. These are my notes from the conversation.
Wow.
Yeah. So here was her answer that that we are right for people who have young sellers, 101, 201, right? That we teach the foundational tactics and strategies. So there are people who have been doing sales for 10 years, but maybe not digital or inside sales, who still need those foundational tactics. But she said the biggest difference was that we are more about facilitating the aha moments as a team and letting the team figure it out and solve it together with their manager. Whereas this guy was more, I'm the expert, I'm the sage on stage. It's more about me and my success. And, you can do this, just try it, just A/B test it. So I hadn't heard that before, right? I've heard that we're more hands-on, that other people tell you what to do and we actually show you how to do it. And then, by the way, we go do it with live calls. So talk about getting application. I've heard that before, but I loved her comment about how we help the company change together. And when you get people involved in figuring out how to say it, how to propose the value of your particular products, that sticks. I'm part of the solution. That's why coaching works, right? That my idea is integrated. And she said that was neat. It was team building. We were all part of the solution. It helped bring the managers to integrate into it. It was more flexible. It wasn't, here's how you do it. Sorry, it doesn't work. It was, let's figure out how to make what you're doing at your company work. And that made me really proud.
That's cool.
I loved that info. Isn't that neat? I think the other difference is the results. It's really common that people during training will get better sales results than a typical sales day when we go out to the floors.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, people always say, oh, I've learned so much from you. And I figure, okay, great. What does that mean? And, you need somebody outside to really distill that and tell you, this is what that means.
And here's how to do it. You shouldn't make a rep translate the theory into how does it fit to my job.
Right.
Our job as trainers and leaders is to translate that for them.
Yeah, because a lot of times, you give simple examples and it makes sense. I don't know what to do when I go back home.
Yeah, so we don't make them do that, right? We go out on the floor and do it right now. And that makes a difference. It's a safe place to take risks.
Okay, great. So, Lauren, we can just keep going on and on and on.
I know, we've been talking too long.
So how can people get in touch with you to learn more?
Thank you for asking. Go to factor8.com. You can see our curriculum and what we're about and get in touch with us there. And if you'd like to learn more about how to support women in sales or maybe recommend somebody on your team to get involved, go to wearegirlsclub.com. Henry, it's important you don't go to girlsclub.com at work. That will get you in trouble. Wearegirlsclub.com.
Okay, so that's not suitable for work, right?
Not suitable at work. Or find me on LinkedIn. Let's connect there.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. So you're a fantastic storyteller, Lauren. I really enjoyed all your stories and your advice about training and getting people involved and engaging and translating. It's wonderful. So
Thank
thank
you.
you so much.
I love what I do, and I'm appreciative that you give me the audience and the platform, Henry. Thank you so much for having me.